been a couple of days. Um, thought it being the middle of the week, I would do a middle of the week injury update, and I'll do one later in the week, and I'll do one tomorrow before the Bears game. Uh, Bears getting itchy, probably be gone after today, maybe right after this. Hello, Bosco. The kitty cat's right down next to me. So here we go. Let's we'll start with quarterbacks. Um, Derek Carr, who played last week, his shoulder is still hurt. He's still limited. Since he played last week, I'm going to predict that he plays again this week. But, you got to keep an eye on those things. And it's not like he's having a great year. So, you know, he's probably your number two quarterback, anyways. So I am so itchy. I can't help it. I apologize. Um, Itchy and Twitchy, that's my middle name. Um, One of the newer injuries is Kenny Pickett. He hurt his knee. He was limited uh, today. Today is Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it was. He says he's going to play, but you got to keep an eye on those things. If he doesn't play, former Bear number two pick. Good God, why did we do that? Great kid though. Mitch Trubisky would be starting if he doesn't play. So whatever happens, either way, Pittsburgh is not going to be very good. I don't think. I don't think Pickett's much of a play either. Another newer injury is Matthew Stafford. He's been having a halfway decent year. You know, his elbow obviously feels better, but he tweaked his hip in the last game and he finished the game. Says he's going to play. Um, Hope he does. Um, he's a tough kid, so or tough middle-aged man or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think he'll play. That would be my guess. Jimmy Garoppolo is still in concussion protocol. He has not passed, but his game isn't until Monday night, so got a long ways to go. If he doesn't play, Aiden O'Connell, who went to the same high school as my daughter and my son, Stevenson High School in Lincolnshire, Illinois, probably the greatest player who ever, or athlete who ever went to Stevenson is Jalen Brunson. Um, he's done pretty well for himself, so we're all proud of him. Um, that's pretty much it for the quarterbacks. There's not a lot of quarterbacks really banged up, and I mean of all of those, Stafford's probably the one who maybe some people are starting. Like I said, he's having a pretty good year, pretty solid year. Last year he would have been a pretty decent QB1, and then he gets hurt, and it was a rough year for him. As far as wide receivers go, Zay Jones has the game in England, so remember, another week with 8:30. I guess Jacksonville stayed out there since they're playing back-to-back weeks. Zay Jones was limited after missing 2 games, so that at least is promising. He did have a pretty good, I believe, first week, but he's probably somebody that's on your bench or that on your injured reserve or that you cut. So sorry, the baseball game's on. I don't know how the hell what's his face got picked off of second base, Guerrero, but can't have that happen. Good God. They said, how is he going to go back to the dugout? And it's a good question. Back to football, of course. Amon Ross St. Brown has an abdomen injury, and he finished up the game, but it just depends on how bad it is. Those things can be pretty painful. Another new injury is Braxton Berrios for the Jets. He also is questionable. He's got a knee. He was limited today. He played last week. It's one of those things you gotta wait as the week goes on, and he's probably not one of your top wide receivers. And there's the next guy, Josh Reynolds, who's having a pretty good year, and he did play last week, but seems like the groin is acting up still, so he was limited today. So we'll see what happens. A new injury is Cincinnati's T. Higgins. He's got some ribs and a knee. No, he's got You know what? I don't have listed properly what he's got, but I know it was ribs. He got hurt during the game, and they say he may miss some time. You know, ribs, boy, that can be brutal because there's nothing you can do for him. It's not like you can wrap him up. You know, you can wear a flak jacket or something, but he didn't practice today. I don't know that I would count on him this week, but football players are tough. You never know. Uh, and the last wide receiver I've got listed, excuse me, is Debo Samuel. Um, he's got a ribs and he's got a knee. Um, was limited today. Last game he ran 3 times, but he was not targeted. So, you know, even if he is in your starting lineup, you may want to think about sitting him this week unless he gets some full practices in because, you know, while he is a dangerous running the ball, you know, that's not his forte. He's only getting a couple of runs a game. You need him to be catching passes. Let's go to the running backs and a new one on the list, although he's having a horrible year because he's not getting any snaps. In fact, Murray had more snaps than him last week for Buffalo. Damian Harris, he's got a neck. He was limited today. He's really not even worth playing, or some people may not even have him on their roster anymore. Miles Sanders has been beat up with a groin for the last couple of weeks. I think his snaps were limited with Chuba, or however you pronounce it, Hubbard for Carolina. I think 2 weeks ago he had a pretty good game. Last week wasn't so great. So it's one of those things. If you got a better running back that's healthy, you know, you would probably want to play him. Justice Hill he's had a bad toe, and now he's got a hamstring added to it. I believe he had a couple of snaps last week. They put Melvin Gordon back on the practice squad. I don't know that I would play him, but you know, sometimes depending on how many teams are in your league, you're stuck. So, but he's still not a great play. A new injury, Ramondre Stevenson for New England. He's got a thigh injury. He was limited. You just never know with the Pats. They don't give you anything. They're not going to tell you anything. So I would think he's going to play. If he doesn't play, then Zeke would be a good guy to have going. Although with the Patriots, whether it's wide receivers or running backs, you know, you just don't know what they're going to do. They keep pulling guys in and pulling guys out. A guy gets hot, and then they decide, you know what, we got to try somebody else, which doesn't make any sense, but maybe that's why they stink and have stunk for the last couple of years, which is good. Glad to see them bad. I'm just, you know, you like to see the, at one time, cream of the crop, you know, come back down to earth. A big injury for my fantasy teams, Kyron Williams. He's got a hip pointer. They were saying he didn't practice today. They were saying that was a rest day. You know, he's a young running back. They expect him to play. I hope he plays because he's been a stud the last the whole year. So we'll see what happens. In a game that I saw, Javonte Williams from Denver, he also hurt his hip. He got taken out early in the game. Didn't practice. I'm not so sure that he's going to play, and even if he does, he really hasn't done much this year. He had a knee injury that he's coming back from last year. So the one guy that impressed the heck out of me, Jaleel McLaughlin, kid's fast. I don't know why Denver didn't give him the ball more because P. Ryan is He's he's an okay backup. You know, he does some things okay, but this kid can really scoot. And it looked like he caught the ball pretty well too. So maybe somebody to think about picking up now, and if you got an open spot, you know, if you've got maybe a Damian Harris on your, you know, on your roster, and sometimes it's worth a gamble. I mean, I did that with Kyron Williams and, you know, Puka, though it wasn't much of a gamble since they had great first weeks, but, you know, I got those guys on a couple of teams, and they've been big. They've been having really good years. I know that what's-his-face, Cooper Kupp is coming off. I think there's eligible to come off the injured list. I don't know yet. I haven't read anything yet about him. I'll probably update that later. but I still think Puka's going to catch a lot of balls. Um, Saquon Barkley, he actually practiced. It was limited with his ankle. The Giants need him because he is their offense. He is their only skilled player. They need him desperately because at least if they can run the ball a little bit, it'll save Daniel Jones from getting creamed because he get 11 sacks last week, and he probably had escaped another 10 or 12. I mean, I don't think he's a great quarterback. I would have never given him that money. I think that's nuts. But he certainly is better than I projected him to be. And he took a pounding last week, and the Giants are a train wreck. They got to get their left tackle back somehow, or put somebody in there, because the guy that played it didn't matter who was rushing. The guy went around him like he was, a tackling dummy. I mean, it was just atrocious. The other, although I guess it's kind of an injury update, is Jonathan Taylor of Indy. He was on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks. We've had a full practice today, but we don't know what the heck the Colts are going to do. I don't think the Colts know what the heck the Colts are going to do. They're still having a contract squabble, and I don't get that either because the guy is a stud. Give him the damn money. You don't have anything. I know he can draft running backs, but you're 2-2 right now. Their whole division is 2-2. You have a chance of making the playoffs. Give him the damn money, or I would give him the money. I think he's a stud. I think he's really good. So the big question is, they got like a 21-day window to activate him. Put him on the roster. So if I'm them, and he's ready to go, I put him in immediately. As far as fantasy goes, it really depends on your roster. But if you've got an average, running back or an average flex, boy, I take the chance on him. He's a monster. You don't want to miss a week and him get, maybe he only carries the ball 10 times. Maybe he carries it 20 and gets 200 yards, and catches some passes. So I would definitely start him. And now we're going to get to tight ends, which there's really nothing much. There's a couple of things, actually. Dawson Knox has not had any targets this year. I think he's had 8 receptions. He's got a quad. He's got the 8:30 game and he's on Buffalo. They're in England. If he's your starting tight end, I'm sure you can find somebody if he doesn't play, on the waiver wire that has just as few receptions as him. Tyler Higbee, he played last week with, I think it was a groin. He's got a thumb now. He's got a thumb. Dave Watson used to say that whenever a guy had an injury, he'd go, he's got a leg, he's got an ankle. He's got a thumb, in that voice. God, he was a bad coach. He's a pretty good analyst. We have him locally here in Chicago now. He's been doing stuff on the radio, and he does a post-game show for the Bears. But anyways, I think Higbee will play. We'll see. Again, it's only Wednesday. Pat Freiermuth, hamstring. He's listed as doubtful, which means he's probably not going to play. And from what I read, he's expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks. So that's probably a guy that might be in some lineups. Another guy, Luke Musgrave. He's got the Monday night game. Plays for Green Bay. He's got a concussion. He practiced Tuesday, but you can sometimes practice when you got concussions. So he's still got a clear protocol before, you can play him. Like I've said before, I've got some defensive players myself, and so I just do a quick little defensive update. DeForest Buckner had a groin last week, and he's got a back this week. He didn't practice all last week. He didn't practice today. He's probably going to play. He played last week. Brian Branch is a new one from Detroit, defensive back. He's got an ankle. He was carted off last week. Carted off for an ankle. I'm going to guess he's not going to play this week, but, check back in and see. Nick Bolton, linebacker for KC, has missed 2 weeks with an ankle, but he practiced today. So, and it looks like it wasn't limited. It looks like it was a full practice. Micah Parsons, I saw him get hurt last week. He's got a sore knee. Listed, he had a limited practice, but I think Mike is going to play. So, and then I just wanted to talk about guys on bye week. This week is the first bye week, so you've got the LA Chargers, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Cleveland Browns, which means that the quarterbacks that won't be playing this week, and you got to find somebody for them if they're starting for you. Justin Herbert is not playing, obviously. Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and Deshaun Watson, although he didn't play last week either, and boy, they got their asses handed to them. Wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, all have the week off, so find somebody else if they're starting for you. Running backs, Kenny Walker, Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford, he had a great 2 weeks ago. Last week, not so much, and I think eventually he's going to be a backup. We'll see what happens, but he's not playing, obviously, this week. Rashad White, Eckler, who's missed a bunch of games anyways. He could probably, really use the week off. And then the guy that's been starting for him, Joshua Kelly, they're all off this week. David Njoku, who toughed it out after burning his hand and his face, he's off this week. And as far as kickers go, the only two really that have done anything this year, Jason Myers and Dustin Hopkins. So, as far as the teams that are missing this week, Seattle, they had, as far as team defense, they had 3 average weeks and then 11 sacks against a woeful offensive line of the Giants. So, they wouldn't be my starting defense, but they're off, obviously. Tampa's been okay. They've been pretty consistent. Cleveland's had some ups and downs. The LA Chargers have been bottom half. I mean, they've been giving up 29 points a game. So, thankfully, they've been scoring 29 points a game. So, that's about all I've got for right now. I will come back tomorrow, and I will have Bears. I almost said the R word. Commanders update for tomorrow night's game. It's going to be a dreadful game. The Bears suck. The Bears head coach sucks. The Bears offensive coordinator sucks. And to all the idiots asking for Lovie Smith to be brought in, this is Lovie Smith's defense, okay? Lovie Smith had Brian Urlacher, Peanut Tillman, Lance Briggs, and a bunch of other really good to great defensive linemen. He had a very good offensive line. He never could find an offensive coordinator, ever. They always killed the team. Everyone says, well, they fired him when it was 10-6. Well, he was 10-6 because he had a great defense. And if they had a good coach, they would have made the goddamn playoffs that year. So just let Lovie retire. Let him bring presents to the kids from the North Pole. Okay, it's Santa Lovie. Let him be retired. Please, don't bring his name up again. The day he got fired, I did backflips, and I can't even do backflips. So there. So anyways, that's that. I will be back with a Bears and Commanders update tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Maybe watch some baseball. Not much else going on, so we'll see you next time. Adios.